Picture number 8. In this picture, we see what appears to be oil that has washed up onto marshland. This picture is closely cropped, which denies the viewer's depth of field. The oil seems to be almost pudding-like, and in some places, the oil is white in color. There are also regions of vegetation in the picture, as well as what appears to be dirt or sand. Question: can we conclusively state that what we are looking at is oil? The answer to this question is no. Picture number 9. In this picture, we see what appears to be more oil that has washed up onto marshland. This picture is also closely cropped, which denies the viewer's depth of field. In my opinion, this picture looks more convincing than picture number 8. However, picture number 9 is a fake. I took this picture myself. Picture number 10. In this picture, a father walks with his 2 children on what appears to be a contaminated beach. If you were a father, would you have your children anywhere near this contamination? I wouldn't. So why would a father bring his children to a toxic area unless the area is not as toxic as we have been told? Could it be possible that the greatest ecological disaster of our time is not so great? Could it be possible that all of the doomsday predictions concerning the BP Gulf oil spill were fabricated to incite fear?
In less than 3 hours, more hearings will take place on Capitol Hill as the government continues to focus on stopping the worst environmental disaster in U.S. history, and President Obama announcing another trip. Melanie Wilkes joins us right now live in Washington, D.C. on the latest. I think the president's going next week, correct, Melanie?
That's right. President Obama going back to the Gulf on Monday and Tuesday next week, his 4th trip since the oil rig explosion on April 20th. BP is now making available high-resolution video of the spill after some pressure from Congress. The good news is the containment cap system is now capturing oil at the rate of roughly 15,000 barrels a day. That would mean it's collecting more than half the leaking oil if estimates of the flow rate are correct. President Obama's next trip to the Gulf will include some of the other states affected: Alabama, Mississippi, and Florida. He's been criticized for not showing enough emotion about the disaster, but in an interview with NBC yesterday, he displayed a flash of temper and used some salty language.
I don't sit around just talking to experts because this is a college seminar. We talk to these folks because they potentially have the best answers, so I know who's to kick.
Picture number 11. In this picture, a water truck sprays oil dispersant onto a supposedly contaminated beachfront area. The truck is white and has checkered board designs towards the front and the back. In the background, we see a wooden fence, trees, power lines, and telephone wires and poles. There are no visible signs of oil on the beachfront area. As for this picture, it's a fake. I took this picture near my home in California. The empty lot was being cleared for construction. If you look in the background, you will see fencing, trees, power lines, and telephone poles. If this were beachfront property, then the large trees in the background would probably not be able to root themselves in beach sand. One other issue to note here is that some of the electrical lines are coming out of the ground. I would suspect that having electrical lines coming out of the ground would be extremely dangerous given their proximity to water. Picture number 12. In this picture, we see a liquid substance that is supposed to be oil that has washed up onto a supposedly contaminated beachfront area. The picture is cropped very close so that the viewer is denied depth of field. There is some green shrubbery in the bottom right-hand corner of the picture. I can admit to you all that I took this picture myself. It's a fake. Picture number 13. This picture was taken with a submersible camera. In the picture, the viewer is directed up towards the surface of the water. Towards the surface of the water is what is supposed to be oil. But is that really oil? How do we know for sure? From my vantage point, the alleged floating oil looks strangely reminiscent of seaweed. Furthermore, the water seems to be fairly clean and clear. not at all appearing to be contaminated with oil. There are indeed some oil spots in the picture which can be seen here. But if you look closely, you will realize that these oil spots are not floating in the water. Rather, these oil spots are stuck to the camera lens. How can slick oil stick to an underwater camera lens unless it was placed on the camera and allowed to dry prior to getting into the water? Furthermore, would oil stick to a glass lens that is submerged in water? And if you were the one taking this picture and oil miraculously stuck to your lens, wouldn't you take your hand and clean it off prior to taking the picture? Understand that this picture is staged, and it was issued by the media to further propagandize the Gulf oil spill as being the greatest ecological catastrophe of our time. Picture number 14. This picture shows 3 people standing on a beach looking at supposed oil that has washed up to shore. In the distance, we see several boats, clouds, and a blue sky. The first question that I must ask is, why would someone venture into a contaminated area and just stand there? But besides this, I want to ask you if you wrote down anything about this picture in terms of the blur lines that are observable here, here, and here. Can you see how the supposed oil slick is lighter in the blurred region? Why is this relevant? Well, this picture has been doctored, has been manipulated, and has been altered prior to being distributed by the media. The question is, how was this picture doctored, manipulated, and altered? The answer is that the 3 people in the foreground that they are standing on were actually edited into the shot. Notice how the area upon which the people are standing is lower than the area where the supposed oil has washed ashore. Lower? This would mean that the closer one walks to the water, the higher up they must travel. Since when does the gradient of beach sand rise up towards the water? You see, this whole section of the picture was taken someplace separate and then superimposed into the shot of the ocean. In order to blend the 2 pictures, the editors had to blur the 2 pictures along this line here, here, and here. There is much more that I can share with you about this picture. However, I will allow a Vulcan ambassador to simply say, "It's a fake." Picture number 15. This picture shows 3 ducks wandering through what is perceived to be oil that has contaminated some marshland. But as the Romulan ambassador told me, it's a fake. I took this picture in my aunt's backyard. I sprayed the area with water using a water hose, and the ducks happily jumped into the mud. Picture number 16. This picture is very interesting. I can tell you up front that this picture is both staged and doctored. A staged photo simply means that the scene that is being photographed is constructed, fabricated, or otherwise manipulated so that a specific message or story can be embedded within the viewer's subconscious mind. In this sense, a staged photo does not depict real events, rather it displays a pre-planned message or a story. Politicians exclusively use staged photos to embed particular messages into the viewer's subconscious mind. In the case of this photo, the message that is being portrayed is, we save and heal wildlife and then set the wildlife free. This man appears to be holding a container. He has supposedly opened the container so that 2 pelicans can return to the wild. The opening of the container is located here. Notice this splash of water. This splash of water is the result of the pelicans taking flight. Think critically here.